So we're going to take a quick look at the data visualization framework. It's a sort of a bolt-on to Leaflet. So besides, trying to make it easier to work with GeoJSON, they want to kind of extend Leaflet, its symbology through markers, also add some clustering and change the type of data. And I guess what I would think of as labeling, like labeling your features, but labeling your features with like a bar chart marker or a pie chart marker. This is like something I've seen in ArcMap and ArcPro in that. And so depends on what you're trying to do in that. So some of these are highlights. Let's take a quick look at some samples. An interesting thing, I'm not going to dig. They actually integrate the Java Topology Suite JS, which would be the JavaScript version of the Java Topology Suite. And it's where I see them in the code doing it is when they're actually calculating centroids and that. Once you bring that library in, you can do a lot. I mean, you can do buffers and intersects and all these crazy things once you have that. But they were more, when I look at it, it's more about extending some of the stuff you can do with Leaflet. So if we can, so I slide across their GitHub page, maybe, why not? So this is their GitHub page, a link for the docs in there too, in that. So I've downloaded this and set this up. Again, not active for a while, and that even checked on the commits and that. But the thing is, there's some gems in there. It never hurts to say, okay, that's actually something we could use on a particular project. So let's go take a look. I think markers was one of the ones we could look at first. Some good samples is the markers because it gets into the possibilities. So I have this up and running on localhost, if I can find it in that. Where do I think it would be? Maybe this one? Nope, we'll close that one. Problem with having too many browsers and too many tabs open. In that. This is localhost right here. So they have a whole bunch of ones. The airport one's kind of cool. We'll get to markers quickly in that. And when if you click on one, you get all its like all the flights from that center in that. Interesting. Different types of drawing in that. But I really want to get down to, doesn't hurt to start with the basics. Markers in that. So all the different types of markers you can have. So you can see pie chart markers in that. Different radial ones. And so these are marker symbols, and you can draw them based on attributes of the layer, right? So take one row if there's enough attributes on there to make a pie chart off of, and just SVG markers in general. They've got ones where how many sides you need on a polygon. Same thing with stars, how many points do you want on the star. They have all those. And so it helps extend the symbology in that. I think another one was many markers because that actually gets into clustering, right? So we'll go down to many markers. So clustering is kind of an interesting thing. What it is if you take a look at this one over here, the one that says 313, what that means is that inside this circle or whatever, or this polygon that they're labeling, there's 313 dots. So instead of drawing those all on the screen, you just cluster them. So that can really speed up performance in that. They do have some interesting animation as we scroll in. You see how they explode apart in that? So there's still 14 here. And if I zoom in here, that can explode. There's still 3 in this cluster. And if I zoom in enough, then boom, they'll land all 3 separate ones in that. So clustering is pretty important. It's not something I will want to code on my own. I would definitely want to pull in someone's library. We'll take a look at the election data, county stats, and election 2001, and then we'll wrap. So let's go to the U.S. election. Ooh, not this one. You don't need to see the lecture in that. So we'll get in here on this page. There we are. We'll just back up. So I'm going to back all, yeah. So HTML, I think it's U.S. election. Well, there's a couple. We'll take a look at right. So there is like, so what is that really, right? So you have a state. They generate the centroid using Java Topology Suite, but it would be the JavaScript version. And at that center point, they do a new marker style, but it's a pie chart marker style, and it's based on attributes in the layer in that. So that's pretty nice. We've seen some, how would we say it? I've seen that function of having like a label that's actually a chart in ArcMap ArcPro. So it's around that in that sort of genre, I guess we could say. County stats is an interesting one, and then we did election 2012. That was the one we were just on. So we can go to also U.S. election data. It's towards the bottom, and then we'll go to county stats. So U.S. election data right here. Okay. Again, the other one was a donut chart, pie chart, but it's the same kind of concept. Generate the centroid of the state at that position. We'll make a little pie chart based on attributes in the data set. Now, can I click out here and get an info? No, that's not tied in. I was asking for too much in that. Now, the next one was, I'll have to cheat and take a peek at my notes, county stats in that. So that'll be up at the top. There's county stats. Now this is what this is trying to do, is show you how they set up this chloropeth layer, right? So what does that mean? It's symbolized by category, where you use a attribute on the feature to categorize all the features and then apply a color to them. So what they've tried to do is just speed that up or make that easier, right? So these would be all the different attributes that they have. So they just have that in there, and they can quickly switch out, the color ramp based on that particular statistic and that sort of thing, and then change the pop-ups in that, right? So that's the individual value, but they have a color ramp based in. We have on here. Do I dare? And that sort of thing. That's different. Yeah, we'll take off the bubbles. That's kind of hard to see. And that, boom, done. But that's them probably generating centroids. Oh, should we zoom? We'd have to zoom in maybe on this one, see where the bubble lands in that. We got one. Feels like the centroid if I back out. Yeah. Basically, so on top of that, are these? They all seem to be same color, but in that, are they? This is no. These look orange, but that could just be the background color. The dots are a different color. Yes, in that. So let's turn this back to none, because then you get lots of dots drawing. And who's old? Basically. Yeah. But that's just showing you that, highlighting their data layers in that. And so if we go back to the notes, and so what it is instead of you write a whole bunch of code, they've written the code ahead of you. And so I would say data visualization framework, not a framework on the concept of React or Vue, but what it's doing is extending Leaflet to say, hey, these are some common things people are doing. Instead of them writing the same 50 lines of code all the time, we've set up some custom markers and then some custom layers for chart data layer and chloropeth data layers to make it easier for you to do those types of maps if that's what you want to do. So instead of you writing a ton of code, you can say, hey, look, they already got something that puts a little chart on a polygon in that. Or we have a whole bunch of color ramping to do. Do we want to set this up, or should we go check out what they've done on these chloropeth data layers and see if it can speed up our development? Like I said, I think in the lecture, I said, is it worth some salvage? And it might be, depends what you're doing on your projects or your practicums. So we'll stop there and wrap up. And that's all for now.